All right. Okay, so this is week 4 of our free money magnetism series. And today we are going over the pearl itself. And I just realized this went all the way back to the beginning. So let's get to week 4. Today is the pearl sphere. So just to reiterate who I am, I'm Hannah Chapman. I am a certified financial planner, and I'm going to start using this. I'm a prosperity manager rather than a wealth manager. Kristen came up with that one. I'm going to keep it because we are talking about prosperity in so many ways, more than just wealth itself, as in money. So I've been in the financial industry for a really long time, and a part of my mission and part of my design, being a lot of 6 lines in my own profile, is to really reimagine the place of money and the way that prosperity money flows through society. And that really feels super resonant for me. And Kristen says it's Richard Rudd. Okay, so like, yes, I love that. So we've got, Mr. Rudd right here coming up with the prosperity language. So for today, we're going to go over again the Money Magnet Mastermind that's starting next week in September. I would love to see some of you there to keep exploring. And then we will go over the pearl itself and the line designations. And then the 4 pillars of the pearl sequence. So there's a little bit more information there. Then we'll do another money meditation. And the 2 aspects of our pearl sequence are: where are you feeling tightness? Where are you feeling tight control of your money? And where can you sink into prosperity and generosity instead? So that tightness, it's different from the culture sphere, which was fear and greed. Instead, the pearl is, where do you feel tight and scarce? Like, I can't possibly let this go, and move into opening up in generosity. So to go over the mastermind itself, again, it will be a continued exploration of human design, gene keys, and lots of different aspects of it. We'll cover not just the gene keys themselves, that will be an aspect, but we will bring in all the aspects, maybe talk more about the hexagrams themselves, the I Ching wheel that goes around, talk about the astrology of things as well, how it all relates to your ability to bring in and hold money, receive, be generous, create prosperity in your lives. And we will also be building a library of resources. So everything will be going into a members area where you have access to then go back and look. And if I'm line 43, or gate 43, line 6, we'll start to build out that library so you have resources that you can go in and explore and find as well. So that will be $111 per month, or if you pay in full for 6 months, you get 1 month free at $555. It will be an open container. So if more people want to join in, if someone else is super interested in human designer gene keys, they are welcome to join in as well. So I would love to, again, see you there and just keep going and exploring. So let's dive into the pearl. So everyone should have their gene key map. The pearl is right here in the middle. And it is your conscious Jupiter on your human design. So that's what we'll be looking at. So everyone, make sure you know what that looks like. And then if you also have not gotten these ones, the smaller books, so they're called the Golden Path, and they have different. This is book 3 of 4 of prosperity. These ones are great. These have all the line information for you if you are going to continue to learn on your own. And so this is directly from here. The pearl is indeed a precious realization when it comes to us. It represents that which returns to us from the universe once we have surrendered to our higher service. It's about receiving. It's about being able to receive. Your pearl brings everything down to the essential. In your body, the pearl brings awareness to your breath. That your pearl brings you back to the fundamental act of breathing says more about it than any words can. So I would love to take a big deep breath with everyone together and sink into that. So big deep breath in and let it out in a sigh. And that sigh literally calms the nervous system. It's a way for our body to relax, even when we're feeling a little bit flighty. If you can give yourself that, and just let it sink in. That's what we're connecting to with the pearl in this sequence. So, as usual, I start from what I have learned about me in doing this exploration so that we can then move forward and talk about you and what's coming up with yours. So beautiful. Yes, always take note. I love that everyone's put their pearl in the chat. If you haven't done so yet, go ahead and put it in there so we can see. I love to see how many different lines we have. Yes, beautiful. Some 5s, some 3s. Oh gosh, 2s. We've got almost everything. Got 1s, 2s, 3s, 4, 5, 6s. Okay, very cool. Oh, and I went forward one already. Hold on. There we go. So in my sequence, mine is the 10.6. So gate 10, line 6. The gate of treading, the underlying code of behavior that ensures successful interaction despite circumstances, the gate of individual behavior. For me, this gate 10 is on the self center. You can see from here, gate 10 is right here on the middle, right? So this is your self center, your identity center. And the gate 10 is all about being true to yourself, being absolutely self-aware and full of self-love. That is like the nature of the gate 10, the gate of individual behavior. And so the gene keys there, oh, there we go, admit. The gene keys there are, the shadow is self-obsession, with the repressive side being self-denying and the reactive side being narcissistic. The gift is naturalness and the siddhi is being. And so when I am in self-obsession, I'm going to tell you a story from, oh gosh, like a year and a half ago. Yeah, no, it was about a year and 8 months ago. I went to Sedona to celebrate my mom's 60th birthday. So I'm in Cincinnati. My family lives in Arizona. I went to Sedona to celebrate with her. We all went up from the Phoenix area to Sedona, and they had a beautiful shop with a necklace that I absolutely loved. It was so beautiful. It was about $1,000. It was gold and had some diamonds, and it was exquisite. And I really, really wanted it. And I didn't wear a lot of jewelry at the time. I really wasn't wearing a lot of earrings even at that point. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it was just like, no, I can't do that for myself. I'm like doing all these other things for the business. I can't do that for myself. And I was in this state of self-denying. And I noticed it not just with the necklace, but I noticed it in other parts of my behavior, denying myself time to exercise, denying myself time to eat when I would get too busy, denying myself space for creativity and rest. There was so much self-denying going on. And that was the side of the self-obsession that I was in for a long time. And in that time period, I was also really feeling stressed about with business, with everything. Like there was just a lot of stress, even though I had a lot of mentorship and, a lot of things going on. And last June, we went back to Sedona again, and I bought the necklace. They actually had a slightly different one. And that's this one that I wear all the time. And it was even better. It was even better because it's got a little moon and the stars with it. And allowing myself to buy something for me, give myself a gift, just because it was something that I really wanted, was a very big stepping stone for me. And that seems, there's a part of it that's like, it's just jewelry. It's just doing something, like, I don't know, I don't get it. And I had that thought too. But then when I step back and put it into context, right, it's about being true to myself in all kinds of ways, and being able to respect my own boundaries, being able to give myself what I need. And when I'm doing that, when I'm filling my cup, when I am feeling fulfilled, that then allows me to be in my naturalness, in my gift, which means being my full self, being my full expression. And then that pours out into others generously, into things like this that I'm doing right now, right? This is me being more of myself than I probably ever have before on a public forum. And I love it. And it's a gift. And it's me being in my generosity. So it's just such a beautiful exploration to see how things have shifted over the course of several years, and how I can go back and go, oh, yep, I can totally see that. And when I am more in my own full expression, really, really being all of me, I can be more generous with my time, with my resources, with everything. So what about the line designation? We'll go through these 3 slides, and then we'll like open it up and start to explore other people's. So I love the line designations for this one, because this is all about, again, how we're acting with money and prosperity and generosity, right? So those 2 really key terms of tightness and generosity. So the line 1 tends to be about simplicity. So these are the people that deep down you like wish money didn't exist. Like all you really want is freedom to create, to just create and create and create. So money represents your ability to be creative, because it gives you the freedom, right? Like I need the money so that I can just be in my creativity. And that's what matters. Line 2 is about recognition. And it's about learning to receive through recognition. It's about learning to allow yourself to be recognized for your gifts, for your talents, for your contributions, and be compensated for that. Line 3 is about celebration. So we're going, it's like stacking, right? It's going from the individual, I'm just here to create. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of anything. This is all about me creating. Line 2, being recognized, allowing yourself to be recognized for that creation and that contribution. Line 3, being willing to celebrate. So this is the line that wants to celebrate life, and celebrate in general as an expression of your love of life. So the book says, this is a line that loves a party. And I just loved that explanation. It's not a party just for the sake of throwing a party. It's a party for the sake of celebrating something really wonderful. Line 4 is charity. So that's giving back to the world, that everything you see is like through a lens of how can I give back to others in some way. So it's not just about celebrating and having a party. You see a deeper need and you want to reach that. Line 5 is about power, and power in the sense of the way this one puts it is that line 5 has one of the greatest capacities to receive wealth and to steward wealth is the word I'm going to use, like allow wealth to and through you. that you are a great receiver and conductor of wealth. You're an agent of compassion in action. And line 6 is nature, the vision holder of the truth of sustainability. Again, seeing how money can change and shift and be a different expression than what it is right now. And that's, for me, I'm a 10.6. Oh, I didn't put the right one here. So I'm a line 6 on mine. And that's what's come through so many times for me, is that my path is to be a change agent of money from, the vibration of love, from the vibration of fear and power and control and manipulation, and to raise that up to unconditional love and joy and peace. That those are the things that we can experience with money. And so the line 6 holds that vision, and the line 5 puts that vision into action. That's the kind of nature of all 6 lines. So we'll do this one, and then we'll go through some shares of what everyone's got. The 4 principles of the Pearl sequence itself. We've got the vocation, the culture, the brand, and the Pearl. The vocation is your strength, is your spine, is the body part that goes with that, your ability to know what you're meant to do in this world and to follow that takes strength. Your culture is your sensitivity and your solar plexus. The sensitivity to be with others, to understand others, to soften your heart to humanity. Your brand, we didn't cover this one yet. This will be in the next month. That's your top sphere in the sequence, is your style, and it comes from your voice. And so this is your brand. This is your face out to the world. What other people say about you, right, is your brand. And the Pearl is simplicity and the breath, coming back to the breath. So let's stop the share for a second. And we have got, okay, so we've got a lot of different pearls here. Who would like to raise their hand? Arthur, have at it.
Okay.
And then Barry, yeah.
So I have, my Pearl is 26.6, and I don't really understand or even like what comes after it. It says, like, on the right side of Pearl 26.6, invisibility. I'm like the most visible person ever. Artfulness, pride, and line 6, nature. So if I could get some clarity on that, that'd be great.
Yes. So the shadow is pride, the gift is artfulness, and the siddhi is invisibility. And so again, we're putting this into the sense of the shadow puts you in tightness, puts you in scarcity, puts you in, I can't let this go. And the gift puts you into generosity. So how does pride put you into tightness? How does artfulness put you into generosity? So the shadow of pride, let's see. At the lower frequencies, let's see, the 26 gene key is unique within the group because it has to do with utilizing light waves via the medium of the individual will. So it's about your will. In other words, through your willpower, you can bend light and turn it to your advantage. This gene key has a great deal to do with correct and harmonious use of will, which is interesting given your commentary from the last couple of weeks, right? Like this is about the harmonious use of will versus I think the example I used before was I'm going to shove my elbow in the door and pry it open, right? This is a huge conditioning field on this planet telling you that nothing will ever come to you in life unless you reach out and grab it. At the shadow frequency, you allow your unconscious fear to make you distrust the natural and easy flow of life. Out of this fear, you try to control life by pitting your individual will against the whole. So the shadow of the 26th shadow of pride begins to rule your life. So that again, the shadow of pride is when you try to control life by pitting your individual will against the whole.
This is giving me chills.
Yeah. Let's do so the repressive and the reactive, and then I want to hear what's coming up. So the repressive nature is manipulative. The 26 shadow can be really sneaky. When pride manifests through a repressive human nature, it becomes manipulation, but not in an obvious way. This is covert manipulation. These people manipulate others by putting them down or use guilt and shame as subtle weapons. Pride that is rooted in fear always leads to manipulation. It's a simple and lethal equation. On the other side, the reactive side is boastful. The more upfront version of pride is boastfulness. This is the pride that we all know so well as ego. All lower frequencies are inherently isolating. To boast is to try and draw attention to oneself, to render oneself more visible. When someone is boastful, they do not realize that their acts or words have the reverse effect of their intention. There are many ways of boasting, both conscious and unconscious. One of the most obvious is seen in displays of personal wealth, power, and property. While the higher frequencies naturally draw positive recognition, the shadow and all its displays draw jealousy, resentment, or at worst, inspire greed. These people suppress great anger, and when it inevitably explodes, it manifests as the ugliest form of pride and creates a strong repulsion in others. So stop there for a moment. What's happening with that, with the shadow side?
I feel it's more accurate about me for most of my life, but I don't think I'm going against the whole anymore. I think I'm in line with the whole, and I do brag a lot. And I am manipulative. Okay, that's accurate. It's kind of weird to have like a book reading tell me that though. And it's like uh so what's the solution to this?
So
Like
yeah. So that side, do you resonate more with the boastful side or the manipulative side? Or is it a little depending on the situation? Do you express both?
I think I use both, sometimes self-servingly and sometimes to help others. And I think the solution to this is to I don't this is painful. Like I think when I'm just trying to get benefit for myself and I'm not thinking about anybody else, that's when I'm using it for like the darker side. But when I'm actually thinking about the greater good of everybody, like for example, if right now I'm taking up too much space, I should let someone else raise their hand because I always raise my hand like every single time the fastest. Or like somehow like kind of keep in mind more people, everybody, instead of just trying to be like, okay, I know no one's gonna raise their hand within 2 seconds. So boom, I get it. So that's just taking advantage of the situation, which is not always helpful for everybody involved because everybody should get a chance, not just me.
Yeah, that's it. The shadow is tightness. It's exactly what you're saying. What can I take for me? Where am I feeling restricted or restrictive? Right. And so that's me centered versus where am I in service? Where is my generosity? And so the gift of artfulness. So the gift is when you get to the gift level, you learn a very great secret. You learn the difference between will and intention. At the lower frequency, the shadow leads you to believe that you must exert huge willpower to attain your dreams in life. The problem here is that at the shadow frequency, you cannot possibly know what your dreams really are. Instead, your higher purpose can only manifest when you surrender your individual will to nature as a whole. The process of surrender begins with understanding that your higher purpose is something you must tune into rather than impose upon the world. And so exactly what you said, when you're using the pride part or the boastfulness or the manipulation for your own gain, that's the tightness. When you are using it intentionally to help others in service, in generosity, to stand up for someone else to get a turn, for example, right? Like, oh, hey, you missed this person. I know they had their hand up. Can you make sure they get a turn. That's you standing up, being visible in generosity.
Perfect. Can I just ask one last quick question? I know it's not quick. Okay, yeah, it's not quick. The siddhi, my siddhi is invisibility. Isn't siddhi like the higher level gift? Like the best thing? So why would invisibility, meaning like I should be like a nothing? Like no one should even know about me? Like it's so weird.
So the siddhi on all of these is the transcendental gift. And so, yes, invisibility means, in this sense, in order to transcend the ego, one must first have an ego worth giving up. And what it means is that you have to surrender all of it, surrender all of the ego, to then become invisible, right? That you are just the presence that is generous to others. And so as you practice, that's when I talk about the shadow gift siddhi, walking in the gift, choosing the gift over and over and over again is how you eventually experience the siddhi. It's not necessarily something, most people will never reach enlightenment in their lifetime, right? It takes, I believe that we live multiple lifetimes. And so it takes a lot of practice to get there for some people and souls. And so getting to the siddhi is not like, hey, I'm going to shoot for invisibility. It's, hey, I'm going to walk in the gift and walk in the gift and walk in the gift. And eventually you become the gift. You become the siddhi.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And that applies, that's for everyone too. So that was a fantastic question. Yeah. Barry, let's look at yours real quick. Or what, do you have a specific question?
Well, there's understanding already, but also lots of questions. And also I know Dominique and I have the same same channeling and get in line. So get in line. So this is going to be a question that maybe affect both of us. So I'm curious to know what you say. But the thing is, for me, the idea of the gift being diplomacy, which when I read further in talks about dropping defenses,
Mm-hmm.
a potent for me, because it allows me to be more in service and more in giving rather than positioning. But the first one talks about with the one being conflict, and I know this one because it shuts me down. I conflict and I don't get along very well. It becomes a diminishment feeling for me when the conflict happens, because I grew up in a family where there wasn't any. So when I got around conflict, I didn't know what to do with it. So having shot here as the shadow side, it's like I get averse to it. I just don't back away, but I tend to. There's a part of me wants to put my fingers in my ears. You know, because it's not something constructive for me. It's not something loving for me. It's not something additive. So it's interesting that it comes up as the diplomacy conflict, sides of the coin. So I'm just curious. I obviously want to know more, but also that was the first thing that came up for me when I saw those two headings.
Yeah. Okay, ready? Did you read this part?
Some of it, yeah.
So within the human body, the sixth shadow relates to the pH level of the blood, as a metaphor, blah, blah, blah. As a metaphor on the wider scale, we can see that the sixth shadow is about the loss of this balance in the world at large. In particular, it is about the imbalance between male and female, and over time has given rise to the notion of the battle of the sexes. So you and Dominique.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. This cracks me up every freaking time. This battle or conflict is not just about men and women. It's about the balance of all polarities. Religion and science, East and West, rich and poor. The world itself is its own kind of pH level, and wherever it is imbalanced, conflict ensues. So there's your conflict.
Yeah.
Same way that an overbalance of acidic body tissues becomes an environment for viruses and cancer to thrive, so do social imbalances that result in upheaval, corruption, and at their worst, war. The shadow can be interpreted individually through relationships or collectively through communities. At an individual level, the shadow manifests through your emotional state. If you've ever been emotionally repressed through shame or guilt or abuse, the entire culture within your being has been disturbed. So the repressive, so from that aspect, right? So we're looking at conflict between these polarities always. And that, to me, that like boils it down a little bit more rather than just like conflict. Right? That kind of like hones it in for me a little bit. And then the repressive nature is over attentive. So the repressive nature of the shadow is concerned with maintaining peace between people regardless of the cost. And the
So
pattern,
it's like ignoring their needs type thing.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Dominique, what are you saying?
Like sometimes I'm overly tuned in. I can really sense other people's energy. So like when my daughters are here or have company or I'm dating someone, I can be so attuned to their needs that I forget to pay attention to my needs, which is what made me really good in bed, but it can make me really be almost like Barry is now, to where I don't want to have relationships sometimes because it's just like, it's not worth the trade-off that I get into. So interesting.
Well, it's fascinating too, because Dom, you're a reflector and Barry is a manifesting generator with a lot of definition. So you having the exact same pearl, but on these like two very different profiles is really interesting. And then the reactive nature is then tactless, where you're like fed up and you're just gonna say what I need to say and I'm not holding back anymore. Right? So those, then the gift of diplomacy, your gift, so the tightness, right? So the tightness of that. Where are you feeling tight? Where are you either being a doormat, being overly attentive and like fixing everyone else? Or where are you like getting so fed up, like holding on to it until you're so fed up that you have to blow up at someone in some way, right? Either way, that's the tightness. Relaxing into generosity is moving into diplomacy, seeing both sides, being open to the possibilities.
So speaking on a more of a global thing, I definitely notice for myself, I tend to take sides watching things outside of the world that I'm involved in. So sometimes it's not easy for me to see the diplomatic solution, like seeing both sides of the conversation. In coaching, yeah, I can.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger stuff, I feel myself sort of taking a side, usually with underdog. That's kind of my thing, is like being on the side of the underdog. And through my life, it's always been that way, but not like getting into the trenches and doing something about it. Just sitting on the sidelines, feeling like I should, or it can be fixed, or it needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a part of me that has been constricted by it. And that part of me that is not feeling free to make a difference or have things happen.
Yeah, because the thing is that's coming through to share is that if either side of the aisle, if people don't feel seen as a human being, you can't help them.
Right.
And so if you only lean into the side that you agree with, you will never open hearts and minds on the other side.
Absolutely true. Interesting switch, because when Marlon and I were talking in one of the hot seats earlier in the year, because I've been working as a coach with women all my coaching time, and the fact that it opened up to men was like something dropped in place, like going, I've been ignoring half the population. Mm-hmm. And so to really bring it back to inclusiveness and to have both sides, because I've been in some sense feeling like and it's totally ego driven, defending women's rights. You know, like I can fix everything type thing. You know, that sort of like knight in shining armor, big shield, I'm going to fix everything. And realizing it's not my job to, first of all. But secondly, that by actually being in conversation on both sides, I can bring them together versus be against one or the other. So it totally makes sense. Appreciate that.
Diplomacy, exactly.
One quick sidebar question I was going to ask, because I've noticed on this, it talks in the book about programming partners.
Mm-hmm.
Which is basically like when you read like reading one of the gene keys, says my program partner is this one over here. How do they in a general term fit together? They basically like they're sort of a lower level, or they're influence to the other one. How do they work?
Yeah, they're the codon rings. So it'll give you, so this one is 6, 40, 47, and 64. So they're all related as like a circuit, sort of. Right. Not sort of, like that's what it's saying. It's like it's a circuit between those, and so they are related in some way. And so if you have more activations, like if you have those other ones activated as well, that's a very strong circuit for you. to pay
Also,
attention.
so if those show up in my chart, then I know I want to go and read about those and see how they fit together, type of thing.
Definitely. Yeah, exactly. Melanie. So we're going to go to Melanie and then we'll keep moving along. What do you got?
Yeah, so my pearl is 39.2. And the dynamism versus provocation. Maybe I'm too much aware of me, but I feel like those are pretty similar. It's like a pretty fine line between the two.
Yes. And that is actually the case for pretty much all of them. It's like they're almost, not always, but a lot of them, it's like, are these synonyms for each other? Like there's a sense of that, right? It's like a synonym, but with a different intention. Like what's the intention behind it? That's the aspect, right? So provocation being literally what you think about when you hear the word provocation, right? This is saying it's rooted in violence. Provocation is rooted in violence. The repressive nature is trapped. So when you're in your repressed nature, you're in fear, you're in anger, and you're feeling trapped, like you can't get out. Like a fox caught in a snare, right? That can't get out. But when you try to go touch it, like it's going to like be trapped. The reactive nature being provocative. It takes the energy of anger to crack the layers and layers of inertia and repressed fear. And as we begin to feel our fear, it transforms into anger and we begin to act on it. So that's the outward provocation. So switching, so that would be, where is that tightness? Where are you feeling provoked or trapped? That's causing tightness in your body and in your money. And the 39th gift of dynamism. So dynamism, this is saying the pressure of creativity. As you activate the higher frequency of this gene key, you begin to have a notion of the nature of the energy that drives all children. As we know, children seem to have endless energy that just crackles in the very air around them. This is the raw energy of the 39th gift, the gift of dynamism. It's interesting to note, as you make the transition from child to adult and your personal and cultural conditioning gradually take over, you also experience a decline in your natural dynamism. By the age of 7, most of your inherent patterns are already set in stone. And it's therefore essential that children be given enormous amounts of time and space so that their natural dynamism can flow in an unimpeded manner. So bringing that the sense of provocation being, moving in violence and fear versus what is that if we're taking it from a creativity standpoint, right? What provokes creativity? That's dynamism. And
Okay.
that
Thank you for that.
generosity. Yeah. What are you taking from that?
I sound a little unhinged, but to be honest.
This sentence is actually really good. In conclusion, we say at the gift level, the same energy that gives rise to violence becomes creative action. So it's the same impetus that can go into violence or can go into creativity.
Okay, I'm gonna think about this more, but then this is inviting me to basically deconstruct how I view myself entirely. But like it's a positive way, like an ego death situation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm not violent all the time, guys. I promise. I'm not crazy. We're gonna meet up in person, Hannah. I promise I won't bite you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I trust
But
you.
thank you for explaining that.
Okay. So I would love to go through, Kristen, see if you feel a little nauseated reading yours. Do you want to share anything from that quickly?
Well, the reactive nature of mine, my key is shadow is expectation, gift, detachment, celebration, siddhi. It's number 42. It's the reactive nature is flaky. So that was kind of funny. That was one of those moments where I'm like, I don't think of myself as flaky at all. But then I pretty much highlighted almost the whole paragraph as like potent. And it says these people try to avoid disappointment by not really making any form of commitment in the first place. They move from one thing to another without allowing the natural life cycles to complete themselves. And then it says it can be a disaster in relationships and in their finances. They're unconscious victims of their own expectations, regardless of whether they're pessimistic or optimistic. And I feel like, well, nauseous reading. You know, it like hits home in such a deep way.
Mm.
Certainly in terms of like when I look at the arc of my life. And I think that I've learned a lot from that. And I haven't read The Gift yet. I've been reading The Shadow. I think there might be a lot for me to learn from this key.
That
Some of
sounds,
it, I think maybe I've naturally already learned some of the gift from, and I think there's a lot here for me to really like more consciously get what's been going on for me,
mhm.
and it's pretty uncomfortable. Yeah.
Celebrate that. Sit in that discomfort. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Beautiful. Okay. So let's, yes, we have time. Let's do a quick meditation to really dive into, so take those 2 words for yourself, your shadow and your gift. And we're going to dive into tightness and generosity a little bit. So take a deep breath in and let it out. One more deep breath in. And hold it at the top. And let that go. And imagine a bright white light at the very, very center of your being. And imagine that expanding, glowing, moving from your center, filling up your chest, moving up through your throat, up through your third eye, up through your crown chakra, expanding down through your solar plexus, down through your sacral, down through your root. Breathe in that bright white light and let it go. Sinking in, feeling into the shadow. What feels tight? In your shadow, what makes you want to hold on to every penny? What makes you feel like there's not enough? Take a deep breath in and let it go. And move over into your gift. Imagine the generosity that's available. Which part of your gift feels the most generous to you? Where you just can't wait to move forward, where you can't wait to give, where it feels like it's bubbling out with so much ease. Take one more deep breath in. Let it go. And coming back, keeping that beautiful white glow, but coming back into your heart, coming back into your awareness. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Did anything come up for anyone that you'd like to share? Anything, especially on the gift side, is there anything coming through about your gift and something that you would like to move forward? A next step, a next piece of generosity.
Can I share?
Yes, please.
Okay. So for me, just what bubbles up easy for me is if I'm just having conversation and talking about it, like being on a podcast or being on Clubhouse. Whenever I'm doing things on video, I'm overthinking. I think that's why sometimes I don't get on video, because I'm just like on video so much. So yeah, I think it's just easier for me to just be in a flow of conversation than trying to think if I'm scripting something or I start overthinking it and then I don't share as easily. So that came up for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's powerful. I wonder if it's also because you're a reflector and you
Mhm.
take in so much, where like Clubhouse or a podcast, right? You're getting rid of at least part of your sensory experience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then bouncing off ideas, like reflectors sometimes just me bouncing off or having a conversation, like flowing or answering questions is really good. But if it's just me in a monologue, like talking to do a YouTube video, like one of my daughters had tried to help edit some of my YouTube videos. And a few years ago, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen you look nervous or uncomfortable." I thought that if I didn't know better, I would have thought someone was holding you hostage while you're recording that video. So it's been something I've had to work through.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting. Thank you for sharing, Dom.
Thank you for creating the space.
Arthur, what's up?
I gave a bit of space for Dominique by not raising my hand immediately. I'm just teasing.
Practicing
But-
already.
But what I realized for my next step, it's actually a series of steps. How I spend my money, how I save my money, how I invest, how I make money, how I make every decision. It needs to holistically affect all my decisions from like 24/7 pretty much. And when I say I'm going to do it, I'm saying I'm going to do it right now. And as soon as I say it, I can't take it back. And it's going to be like everything's just changed so much. So I'm really looking forward to being more in my gift, which is, you could say generosity, but really it's just exactly what you said, the way you described it. Just think about the whole all the time. And it's for the whole, do it. If it's not for the whole, don't do it. So that was very deep and profound. So thank you.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Arthur, and thank you for being here and raising your hand and asking questions. And the gift of that is that sometimes other people aren't feeling like ready to ask a question. And so when people raise their hand and go first and break the ice, that's also a gift to help other people feel like, okay, good. Yes, I can ask a question. It sparked a question, right? So that can also be in service to the whole. So thank you. All right. So your homework, if you choose to accept it, is to do the exact same thing with your pearl sphere. First step, just be aware. So if you want to take a screenshot, you can, and I'll send you an email as well. Be aware of how you notice the shadow showing up in business, in life, and where you're making those decisions from tightness, holding on, scarcity, penny pinching, when it feels tight. Second step, pay attention to that part. What part of that, of you, is crying out for that acceptance, awareness, to be seen? And then the third step, just like we just went through, what's bubbling up as the action to take in your gift? In this space, in the pearl specifically, what feels like generosity that comes from a true place of generosity, not from a place of I'm giving from, depletion, right? What feels like, oh, this feels so easy to give. Doesn't need to be money. It can be service. Ooh, Jenny. Yeah, that's powerful. Interesting. I would explore that as well. Where are you allowing mediocrity for your own life? And then delivering, I would totally agree, delivering exquisiteness and style to those around you. How can you allow that for yourself as well? It's beautiful. Oh, I guess if this offer will still stand, I think everyone on here has your chart, but if you need it, let me know. If you know anyone else who would love to come hang out, you can send them my way. I will send them all the same information that I've sent to everyone else. And once again, if you want to keep moving forward, let me know. We're going to start next week. We have one person who is an all in so far. So Kira, I'm excited to keep going, and we'll need a few more to keep moving along. So do send me a message if you want to hop on a call and see if it's a good fit. And otherwise, it's 4 o'clock. So I will let you go. If you got to go, if you want to stay and hang out for a few more minutes, I'm here for another 15 minutes. Oh, Kelsey, yeah. Bye. All right. Open Q&A. Kira, what's up?
My shadow is interference, and I was reading about it quite a bit in the Gene Key book, and I'm having a little bit of trouble making the connection between that shadow and the tightness in finances and things like that.
Yes. Yeah, that's the rub here, right? With each key is like, how can you then relate it to money or the culture sphere? How can you relate it to people? So the repressive, let's look at the repressive and the reactive nature. Interference, the individual repressive nature is distrustful. So the shadow is based on distrust. This distrust is both an inherited trait and a conditioned one. It's fear-based. It's a fear-based response to one's early experiences in childhood, and it infects all of one's relationships. These are the people who have a single disastrous relationship and then shut down out of fear. Although they may not show it on the surface, this fear causes them to unconsciously distrust all relationships. They're haunted by their own past and rigidly defend themselves from ever experiencing love or pain again. So the distrust. The reactive nature is misjudging. Let's see. The reactive side is being the master of misjudgment. These people do not shut down like the repressive side, but keep making the same mistakes in their relationships. The 44th gift has a sharp instinct for people, but if the basic frequency of your vehicle is operating below optimum, your instinct misfires. Accordingly, individuals with this reactive nature ally themselves to those who don't respect them, who turn against them, or in business, who are a drain on resources and often just plain incompetent. The classic example is someone who keeps breaking ties with certain people only to rediscover a similar pattern with the next person. So I think that one in business right there is a really great example. Keeping people on who are drained on resources and often just plain incompetent. Between those two, do either one of them resonate more as something that you have noticed in yourself?
I think the distrustful I've definitely recognized in like my romantic relationships. So I guess I don't really have much of a relationship with money to pull on yet. So I think maybe that might be making it a little bit difficult to see.
Yeah. So if we put money, that the way you just said that is perfect. The relationship with money,
Mhm.
even just the relationship to money, but your relationship with money, if your money was another person standing next to you, where are you feeling distrustful? Right? Is there a feeling of like, I don't trust that you'll be there for me?
Mm.
Or on the other side, misjudging, completely always misjudging something that you think is right for you, investing in things that aren't the right fit, that kind of thing, misjudging. Where do you feel like you've spent money and regretted it? Those would be the two sides, like not trusting, not spending versus, oh, I spent that and I regret it. How does that resonate?
That helps. That helps like kind of realign that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I love the gift too, teamwork. Karmic relationships and teamwork. I love that. Is the
Yeah.
gift. Where are you in a good team?
Yeah, there was a part about the gift that really resonated that says within the greater body, your cells have business together. And I definitely feel like the people that I'm currently in business with, I very much resonate, and they even physically look like me. So that's interesting.
That is interesting. I like it. Beautiful. Kristen.
Something that I'm finding interesting as I'm continuing to skim is that this is the first gene key that I've read so far that I feel like a very equal resonance and relation with the shadow of the gift and the siddhi.
Interesting.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like this key is a lot about death and like coming to, like, the siddhi is a lot about really coming to terms. Celebration is the siddhi. It's like the celebration of realizing that every moment we're dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I just completed with my master's almost a 2-year program on contemplative end of life care. And it was like super diving into death and dying in like a major way, which I've not done before, by the way, y'all. Like this is and then my whole program, it has a very kind of Buddhist underbelly to it. So detachment's my gift. So I've just been like really immersed in this, like, how do I come to this place of detachment and then further, like, through this idea that we're all dying in every moment, and to bring that to people, to help people understand the nature of life through that we're dying in every moment. And it's kind of fascinating. It's kind of fascinating. This key is like stirring up a lot for me. It feels very potent and all of them. So yeah, I just wanted to share that piece.
Oh, that's beautiful. And okay, so the thing that just came up to share from what you said was the pearl, this part. So this is page 124. Where is this? The pearl, it's like, it's not a path. It's not part of a path. The pearl itself. It's like the letting go of everything. And that's the pearl, right? So rather than like the vocation to the culture, it's like you move through these and move, between them, and you have to do one to get to the other. The pearl instead is like just the center. I said something about a wormhole. It's like the wormhole oh, I can't find it. I'll have to find it again. But the wormhole into back to where you are right now.
I'll find the page before that on 123.
Okay.
The pearl, a quantum wormhole.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This wormhole leads us home to our everyday life. It is here now in your everyday life where your harvest can be found. In the gene keys, we speak of the 3 frequencies, shadow, gift, and siddhi, and we speak of the 3 stages of awakening, the art of contemplation, the phase of absorption, and the return to embodiment. There is no pathway to the pearl. The pearl is a crystallization of all the pathways that compromise the golden path. The pearl grows inside your being like a child in utero. It is your own private piece of simplicity and truth. The funny thing about the pearl is that when it arises, it brings an end to the complex. It's like a self-destruct mechanism hidden within the golden path transmission. Once the teaching is embodied, the teaching is no more. Like, all right. I like that. Once you embody the siddhi, the teaching is done. It's just there, right? You be. It's what you be. I love it. Jenny, okay, I'm reading. The more I learn, the more I want to go back to the beginning with the knowledge I have now. I knew precious little about human design. Yeah, Jenny, you want to tell me a little bit more about that? What are you feeling? What are you feeling drawn to next?
I feel like when we first started talking about the first week, I was just like, I had no framework to operate within. I was brand new to this, other than just knowing some people who were like, this is really cool, and like it keeps on coming up. So now I feel like I have a little bit, like enough to stay out of trouble with, to go back to the beginning and explore those things we talked about in the first couple of weeks with you know, more than just listening, being able to apply it to my own chart.
Yeah, beautiful. And I hope through this exploration these last few weeks, like I kind of took you through my own process of how I explored these things for myself. Is like rather than being like super general all the time and just being, you know, there's value to that, like the generalizations and all of that, but I immediately go into the details of things. I just can't help it, right? I'm like, when I see the gate and I want to know what it means, but then there's, what is that 0.6? What does that mean? And why do I have so many 0.6s all over my chart? Like, what does that mean? Immediately it was drawing my attention. And then to see, you know, the flavors and the nuances, that's what was really drove home the uniqueness of it versus, hey, because you're a self-projecting projector, right?
Yes.
So it's like, I think it's like 2%. It's like you're just a little bit more popular than the reflectors, who are 1% of the population. And so that design itself is very special. And having that ability to, when you're making decisions, like talk it out, right? So literally the self-projector is like your ears hearing your voice. And that,
there's so many things that when you said it made so much sense. I'm like, yes. Learn more about this.
Yes. Yeah. And then so that it starts to align inside of you and start to feel like, oh, I understand myself better now.
Yeah. And I going back, I realized I've had so many encounters with human designs with different clients and conversations I've had, but I didn't realize fully what they were talking about. Now it's sort of all coming together.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're a projector, which you're here to help harness the energy and direct the energy of the generators of the world. Right. And say, hey, here's how we make this more efficient.
Yeah. And writing for other people. That's what I do. Like it totally, like when I read that, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I do actually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so beautiful when it's affirming and then also challenging at the same time. So it's like affirming pieces and you're like, oh, I feel that. I feel that. And then when you get to a challenging piece, you're like, oh, okay.
Yes. And I really appreciate the personal email you sent me last week about the challenge that I was having with my vocation sphere. That was really helpful. So thank you so much.
Good. I was going to ask. And you had brought up, and I should have said this before 4 p.m. So made sure everyone heard it. If you wanted to connect with anyone in this group, please like connect. I know some of you some of us are like from Marla World. So we know each other from there, but I've got people from Cincinnati here and from all, like I said, several different networks kind of converging. And so, yes, if there's anyone that you want to reach out to, connect with, all of that. I am, my whole being is like, I am here to connect people. I love to bring people together into containers. So, and Coach Lee, this is your first time jumping in and you jumped right in the middle. How are you feeling?
Oh, terrified. Just sit back here watching everybody nodding. I'm looking forward to understanding more about what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know every time I see someone's design, I'm like, ooh, that's beautiful. Ooh, that's so interesting. Doesn't matter what it is. Oh, beautiful. Yes. Arthur just put his Instagram in. If anyone else would like to do that to connect, please do.
Yeah, but I found it all to be very exciting and interesting to hear about people's reflections. I enjoy that. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. Is there anything else? Anyone else have any last thoughts or comments? Jack, what you got?
Hi, I just want to pop in and say this is still confusing to me, but this is really interesting today. You were talking to Arthur when I got off of a call. My doctor decided to call me just as we were doing this, so I had to take the call. But I was thinking Arthur and I have the 26, right?
Oh, is yours the same?
Yeah, it's 26.1. And you're talking about, and it was asking about invisibility. And I was thinking if you put Arthur and I in a room together, we wouldn't be able to see each other. So invisibility, I find that really interesting because it's like I can disappear. I have a really easy time disappearing, is my experience. It's like it's almost like I cannot be there. I can be in a room, but I can also not be there at the same time. That's that piece.
Yeah.
The gift, the artfulness is really cool because I mean I like the aesthetic of things. If things don't look good, if things don't look like if things don't look like in a way that has me feel good, it just doesn't work for me. I'm very visually oriented. So I like the artfulness because I believe we're all artists and our lives are our art.
Yes.
That resonates. And the pride shadow is kind of cool too because I look at I equate it with ego. And it's like when I have like a sense of entitlement, that kind of fucks things up and I have to watch that. It's something I have to stay very, very cognizant of, not feeling like I am owed anything.
Yeah, that immediately feels tight.
Yeah.
Oh, you owe me, or I deserve because I did this thing. And
Yeah. And it's something I had as a child. I had like a lot of that. I had a lot of like that sense, and I've lost that. But it's a good thing to keep an eye on because I can feel it every so often when that pull is there. It's like it's not an issue, but I'm very much aware of it.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So where that exploration with money then, so kind of what we talked about with Kira, like where do you see that in a relationship with money if you put money in the relationship side?
I don't know. That's a tricky one because I mean, I'm like, in terms of money, I think my time is extremely valuable, but I don't equate people's willingness to give me money with my worth. I'm like, I'm clear what I'm worth, but I don't necessarily attach a figure to that. I mean, except my coaching is I basically this is what I charge, and you either meet that or not. But like with the program I'm doing, I'm like, I don't mind if people come for nothing. I'm more interested that they come and they engage than anything else.
Yeah, Kira just put it in the chat. The line, you said you're line 1.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's not about the money. It's literally not about the money. Like the money is just here to help me fund my life so I can live and then
Yeah. And it's great because I've got a lot more money now than I used to, and it feels great to be able to just get up and go if I want to. So I mean, I see the usefulness of it. I'm not naive about it, and I really like it. And it's like that's not the thing that motivates me. So it's a weird sort of like contradiction almost there.
And then Arthur was a line 6 on that. So the other side of the spectrum, but still also it's almost like a circle, right? The 6 comes back to this is about society, this is about the whole. It's not about the dollar. And Ayla, what was yours? What was your line? Line 2. Need to be the learning to receive recognition. Is it being recognized for your contribution? Right. How do you have any comments there on like how that works for you, or did anything come up from that?
Say that again.
For Ayla, sorry for.
So actually, I was referring to Jack and Arthur being 26s. I'm a 26 for my brand, so it's very much falling into that invisible status as well. For my pearl, I'm line 3, which is celebration. I very much align with that. And Kira and I were both laughing when we, read through it. And when you read the celebration line, you said people that have line 3 really like to be in parties or throw parties. I throw huge parties. And so I was like, oh yeah, that's me all the way. So I really felt that. I think I operate a lot out through my pearl.
Beautiful. Yeah. So that's the beauty of having literally the same, and you said it was a different one, but like when people have the same gate, that can sometimes be where it feels like, okay, but it's not, that doesn't resonate until you see the line designation and how it makes you specific and unique. Because if you're a line 1 and you're like, I just want to create. That's all I want to do. I don't want to deal with it. Like, why are you always throwing parties? Like Kira, what was your line for your pearl? Line 6. Yeah. So again, that really expansive view of what does money even mean in the world, right? Like how can we lift it? How can we lift the vibration of money? I feel all of us on line 6 are in that spot of like, how can we not just help in the charity realm, not just make more money, but like, how do we shift what money does and means in the collective? So the entire system, right?
So the thing I'm jumping quickly on that one is I've always had a fascination with Star Trek because they don't have money.
Right. Just doesn't exist. Everyone just takes care of each other, right? Everyone does their part. So interesting. All right, everyone. It has been such a joy to express my generosity to you in this way. And thank you for sticking with me. Yeah. And if there's any more exploration you want to do, just raise your hand, send me a note. I'll follow up with everyone to see if you want to keep joining or do anything else with me, but I am here and I'm open, and I just have so much love for everyone on the screen. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Hannah.
Bye.